I am giving away a free booster box of Savage Strike. The link to enter is in the description. Good luck, duelists. Hello, everyone. It's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains episode review. This time, we will be going over episode 91 of VRains, the conclusion between Blue Maiden and Bohman. Now, I know a lot of people are going to have a lot to say about this episode, so I am very excited to give my thoughts on it. I hope you guys do enjoy the review, and please be sure to leave your thoughts down below. General impressions of what I thought of this episode, and it might surprise a few of you, but I actually really enjoyed this episode. Now, let me explain, and let me start by saying this. Wins and losses I've been in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community for a long time. Of course, I've only been doing content for, I've been quietly in the community for probably like 7 or 8 years. And some of the best duels that I've seen, characters have not won. Wins and losses are not everything. Now, I'm sure a lot of people know that, but losing a duel in this fashion, which is obviously what happened, Bohman ends up winning, is not the end of the world for Blue Maiden. And actually, I thought this duel was great for her. Now, I think a lot of people, at least what I've seen very preliminary on Twitter, a lot of people liked how they handled this loss. And I really, as I was watching, thought they did a very good job with it. Now, yes, she lost, and of course, I'm not going to say that I wasn't rooting for her. Of course I was rooting for her. I like her character quite a bit, but the truth of the matter is she is dueling probably the main antagonist of the arc, and I was trying to think of another main girl lead that dueled the main villain of any arc, and I actually don't think it's happened ever in Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's a first. Now, you could argue and say, well, Lightning might be the main antagonist. Maybe you're right there. But that's a first, and that's definitely a good thing. And the fact that that main antagonist in Bohman praised her multiple times throughout the duel, she put up an incredible fight. Oh my god, my heart actually sank at the very end when I thought that she had done enough to survive the turn, when she was negating 10,000 attack points worth of damage, and she just says, "It's not enough, I'm sorry, Aqua." And I thought she handled it so maturely, and Bohman summed it up best. You knew you were going to lose, but you still gave it your all, and honestly, she kicked ass those last 2 minutes. Bohman said that was beautiful. By the way, Bohman, a character that I've always kind of slept on, I thought was incredible in this episode. Very mature, and there's a part of me that know how crappy human beings can be that is maybe even rooting for Bohman to take over the world. That's probably really messed up, but I'm like, hey, you know what? If Bohman takes over the world with his calmness and understanding, maybe that's not a bad thing. No, besides, of course, wiping out humanity, that's the part that, you can't really get behind, but still, well, maybe you can. No, I'm just kidding, but still, I thought Bohman was actually really good in this episode. And Blue Maiden, yes, she loses, but at least she defeated Haru, even though I wish Haru was maybe built up a little better. It was the only win she got this season, which, honestly, I wish she maybe got one other win. She was never going to defeat Bohman. She just wasn't. Bohman at this point is being built up as being the main antagonist, and we've seen him slowly get better and better. Usually when villains start, they're untouchable. We've seen it with Lightning. Every duel Lightning's been in, Lightning wins. Bohman, it's been the opposite, and it's been actually kind of unique in that sense, where he lost multiple times to Playmaker, then he's getting better, and he drew against Playmaker, and now he defeats Blue Maiden, and who knows what's next for Bohman, but he is getting stronger and stronger. It was unclear what happened to Aqua at the end, even though we know Aoi Zaizens is gone. Thought it was an amazing scene, by the way. The Zaizens carry the most emotional death scenes in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, 100%. I thought Akira's scene in Season 1 when he basically killed himself by grabbing onto the cage that the Knights of Hanoi put him in was beautifully done, and this scene was amazing, man. I love Akira. And another great moment from this duel, and I think it shows Aoi Zaizens' overall development. And by the way, I need to block anyone, or not block, but just mute anyone that interacts with this one Twitter account that I keep seeing who calls Aoi a very selfish bitch. And if you like her, you're a crappy person and you have crap taste, which, I'm actually summing it up kind of more politely than how she stated it. I'm sorry, but that's just incorrect. And you know over here that I respect everyone's opinions, just like I hope you respect mine. But it's just wrong. That's like saying 2 + 2 = 3. At that point, it's not an opinion. It's an infactual statement. Your opinion cannot be infactual, because at that point, you're just wrong. It's not an opinion. You can't say 2 + 2 = 3. It's not true. And to say Aoi Zaizens is selfish is absolutely mind-boggling to me. She is anything but selfish. She is putting her life on the line for a girl that she has not spoken to in 10 years. Now, yes, that maybe is reason for criticism in the sense that, well, why did the writers just shove Miyu down our throats? We didn't know anything about her. That feels kind of forced. It felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. That's fair. And if you want to criticize that, not going to argue with you too much. Maybe they should have dropped hints earlier in the show. But at the end of the day, this girl is fighting not to impress a guy, which we've seen so many Yu-Gi-Oh girls fall under, not for the Lost Incident, which obviously is a very good reason as Soulburner and Playmaker are fighting, but she's fighting to save a girl that, again, she has not talked to in over 10 years in life or death circumstances. She easily could have said to Aqua, nah, you know what, I really wouldn't do it. But instead she says, let's do it. I want to save Miyu. I want to help a girl that I have not seen in 10 years. How is that selfish? It's just, she has been, in my opinion, maybe the most developed character since the scared, beginning, unconfident Aoi Zaizens, Blue Angel we saw at the very beginning of the show. She has now transformed into a mature young adult in Blue Maiden who, when she's about to have a panic attack, which, by the way, was an amazing scene in this episode. She's about to have a panic attack, very similarly to how she did when she dueled Spectre. And actually, by the way, before I get into that scene, I'm sure there are a lot of people who, when they read the result, were upset. And the way they handled the duel, they're probably going to say, you know what, actually, I don't mind that she lost in this way. And I think the reason for that, I think it's understandable. And the reason for that is we as fans have subconsciously viewed Aoi Zaizens losing along with humiliation, along with just being mistreated and kicked to the curb, if you will. When Aoi Zaizens loses to Playmaker, she goes insane because of the Hanoi virus and ends up getting thrown off her board and flies to the ground. When she duels against Spectre and loses, she gets thrown up in that tornado and then face plants into the concrete. When she loses against Soulburner, she gets thrown into a mountainside wall. Every time she has lost in a humiliating way, much more than any other character in the show. And so when we knew that she was going to lose this duel based on the cast list, I think a lot of us associated her losing the development because it's going to be a humiliating loss and it's going to be maybe an embarrassing loss for her, but that was not the case. She finally lost a duel in a very, in my opinion, respectable manner. And at least she got a win in the arc. It would have been a disaster if, like, she lost to Haru and was one and done, like Spectre was, for instance. Of course, Spectre dueled Lightning, so at least she got a win. Now, Haru, of course, not the strongest member of Team Evil Ignis, but at least it's a member, so I can't complain there. And that's why her duel against Bohman was always going to happen, and Bohman fighting for Haru ends up, of course, getting the win. But going back to that scene where she's about to have a breakdown, this scene, I think, and maybe it's me overanalyzing a Yu-Gi-Oh scene, which, by the way, is basically this entire channel, I thought it was magnificently done. I think in life, and I think this is what the scene was resembling, when you're about to have a breakdown, which I think we've all been on the cusp of breakdowns before, and we've done something to maybe prevent it, or we have gone into a breakdown, and it can be very tough to get out of one if you don't really take the proper steps of healing and of talking to someone while you're going through a very stressful time. When you are on the cusp of a breakdown and life is getting way too stressful, as we know it does more often than not, trust people that you love. Confide in those that you love. Aoi Zaizens truly loves one character in this show, and that's her only family member, her brother Akira Zaizens. And what does she do? She thinks of Akira. I doubt Akira's voice actually reached her. I'm sure it was more symbolism, but she thinks of Akira, and she remembers that Akira, a person that she didn't really think loved her or cared about her in the beginning of the show. Of course, as we know, she's developed and we've kind of gotten past that. She thinks of her brother and she thinks of what her brother would want her to do. And her brother, now knowing that her brother trusts in her, wants her to fight, wants her to be this incredible duelist, this entertainment duelist, this duelist that has the potential to defeat Bohman and save the world. And that's enough to prevent her from going into a breakdown and starting an amazing turn where she summons a Link 4 Marincis and almost makes an amazing comeback. Honestly, the duel was unpredictable right up until the very end. I thought she put on a great show, even in a losing performance. Even when she knew she was going to lose, she could have sat down and taken that attack, but instead she tried to counter, and I thought it was very well done. But going back to that, when you are on the verge of a breakdown, confide in someone you love. Talk to somebody that you love. Remember the people that love and care about you, because everyone, whether you think it or not, has someone that cares about them very, very deeply. So remember that, and I think that was the message that they were kind of conveying in this scene. And I also think it shows the development of Aoi Zaizens in the very beginning of the show when she's having a breakdown like that, whether it was because of the Hanoi virus or Spectre was overwhelming her. It wasn't a situation where she could think about Akira and she knew in confidence that Akira loved her and trusted her. And instead, she felt like she had no one, and so we see her succumb to the Hanoi virus without much of a fight. We see her not really given to anger against Spectre. That's really what happened at the end of that duel after Spectre broke up the Blue Book. In this duel, she stays calm, she stays true to herself, and that's really all in part of Akira and remembering the people that love her. So I think the development of her character has been one of the best. The only other character that I would say maybe has had more development is Revolver. I think Revolver has been a pretty interesting character in terms of development, but even in this loss, I think it was a very well-done duel. I think it was a very well-done performance. I know a lot of people are scapegoating Soulburner, saying that she needed a win more than Soulburner, which is exactly what I said in the last cast list analysis, which I completely agree with. I do think Aoi Zaizens' character, as many characters, needed a win more than Soulburner, needed a win more than Homura. Forget the whole girl versus guy thing. I mean, they could be the same gender. It doesn't really matter. I would say Spectre needed a win more than Soulburner did. Windy could have used a win more than Soulburner could have. But I'm not going to scapegoat Soulburner. I'm not going to talk about any of that. I am going to talk more in depth about Soulburner and how I think these duels could have played out a little differently. Really, I don't think that Aoi Zaizens and Windy would have been good synergy. Someone had tweeted that to me, and it's fair. I think you need the Soulburner Flame dynamic against Windy, but I feel like Spectre versus Windy would have been sufficient enough. Spectre gets the win. Maybe Soulburner ends up losing to Lightning. Could have done that because Spectre probably needed a win more than Aoi and Soulburner did, but I'm going to go way into that when I do my live podcast every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, talking Yu-Gi-Oh! Into the VRains. Not going to discuss it here because that's a conversation for another video, honestly, but I'm happy with it. I really am. Of course, I would have liked Aoi Zaizens to win. I still think she has been one of the better written characters, and I even tweeted that. Like, I was disappointed when I saw the cast list, obviously, because I like her character a lot, but by no means does this loss bury her character. I mean, she's the only girl in the franchise that can say she actually lost and had a chance to duel the main villain or a main villain. So, unless I'm just not thinking of anyone, even though I kind of went back and couldn't think of a main antagonist that any other girl character has 1v1'd. So, that's awesome in that regard alone. And I think she's been a well-written character, and I hope that in Season 3, she doesn't devolve into something that we hope, but that we've seen too often in Yu-Gi-Oh! But we'll deal with that when Season 3 comes along. Another thing that I'm concerned about, probably the big negative from this, is now what happens to Miyu. And what happens to Miyu is a big uh-oh. Because Aoi Zaizens was the only one who was going after Miyu. And so if Miyu gets awakened because Playmaker defeats Bohman or Soulburner defeats Bohman, that would be very upsetting. That would be kind of poorly done. I hope, because they don't even know who Miyu was, or they didn't know who Miyu was until this duel began. So I hope there is something there where Aoi still has a chance to save Miyu, or you know what other character I would not have any qualm with if he saved Miyu? Akira. His sister's last dying wish was to help Miyu, and so to repay his fallen sister, which that ending shot of him on the ground crying on his knees, and Emma, keep in mind, Emma just lost someone that she probably viewed as a younger sister, with her face entirely darkened, an amazing ending shot to the episode. If Akira saves Miyu and gets the vaccine and awakens Miyu, and that's how he repays his sister's courage and repays his sister's honor, basically, for fighting against Bohman. Which, by the way, I loved how Bohman gave Akira and Aoi a chance to say goodbye to each other. Bohman was great, man. Very compassionate, which is very terrifying because of the power that he does have. And now he's reached that emotional level, not only the mental level, but the emotional level as well. If Akira is the one who saves Miyu somehow, some way, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Otherwise, I think it would be a mistake if it's Soulburner or Playmaker defeating Bohman, and that's how they save Miyu. But we will have to wait and see what happens. All in all, I'm not dissatisfied with the episode. Of course, would I have preferred an Aoi win? Absolutely. But I said before this duel began, whoever wins, I'm not going to criticize it because Bohman needed a win as well. If you want to criticize anything, criticize the fact that these two characters had to duel each other, and they maybe could have mixed these duels a little bit better, or maybe built Haru's character a little more so that Aoi got a more satisfying win, and Haru was a more satisfying character in general. So I'm not going to criticize the end result of this duel or say that one character needed or deserved the win more than the other, because they both kind of needed wins. All in all, I'm satisfied with it, focusing on 92, which I am super duper excited for. So guys, really leave your thoughts on this video. I'm very excited to hear what you think about VRains. I saw some people that said they were going to drop the show. I saw others that said Aoi Zaizens' performance was amazing and much better than expected, which is kind of how I feel. So let me know all your thoughts on Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains as we are approaching the final month of what most likely will be Season 2. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons Lexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, James Rose, Omni Lord, and Neko Yuu-Chan, and to my Diamond tier patrons Bouldergeist and Jesse Wood, and to my Egyptian God tier patrons Syn Cloud and Chris Swan. Thank you to everyone from the bottom of my heart for supporting me on Patreon. You breathe life into the channel, and I cannot thank you enough. And thank you to everyone who just watches these videos, because without you guys, I would not be able to do this. I will talk to you down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have an amazing day.